Hey everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back if you've been here. This is the Rex Begonia propagation update for October 2022. We've got some fun and exciting growth going on, and let's just jump right in. How about that? All right, I'll start in the middle here. This is, I just turned it so it's going to lean the other way towards the light. This is the Jurassic series Heartbeat. This is a leaf propagation that I'm keeping in water culture for as long as possible. And you can see the roots are doing really well. Let me put it under the light so you can see it better. They're growing really nicely all the way down there. And the crown and the leaves are growing bigger, nice and big. This gets diluted, very diluted Maxi Grow nutrients, which is seems to work really well because it is for growth, green growth, not for blooming. Next up we have, let's go back here. This is, you probably remember this if you've seen any of these videos. This is the Pink Shades Jurassic series Rex Begonia as well. These leaves have gotten huge. They're not even where they're gonna be. These are gonna get even bigger. But you can see they have some pretty color. The shades of pink change when you move it under the light. And look at these leaves. They're just getting so nice and big. And let's see where the growth point is. These are the old leaves that started to die off. I don't see where the growth point is, but I'm sure there will be some new leaves popping up soon. But yes, looking very, very nice. Back here, this is the escargot. This one now has 4 leaves. These 2 leaves on top are getting nice and big. This one had paused for a little while, but it is back. This is another escargot in the little terrarium setup here. Nothing really crazy going on there. That was a leaf prop, and that's in sphagnum moss. Everything else is in the acrylic yarn. This here, I'm not sure if this is called Spitfire. I think this is called Spitfire. Leaf propagation, mother leaf is still there. And these leaves are continuing to grow. We have a new leaf in the growth point down there in the middle. So doing well. This one here dried up really badly. I wasn't checking and I didn't water it for a while. And I feel really bad because this whole thing was just kind of wilting. It is back up now, but the mother leaf suffered from that. So she's probably on her way out. But these leaves bounced back. Hopefully we will not have any issues because of my neglect. And back here we have, what is this? This is Roomba, I think. This one was placed in a self-watering setup in acrylic yarn. And as you can see, the leaves are doing great. The reservoir, let's see how the reservoir is. It's getting close to need to be filled. All acrylic medium. And it's all the way in the back. If I brought it closer to the light, it would have colors more like this. But it's all the way back here because there are so many other little babies that are shorter that need some light. So I kind of pushed that one to the back temporarily. Next up, this is the Begonia Rex Silver Point. This is another Jurassic series. This was a leaf prop put into the acrylic. Looks like I gotta water this one soon. Look at those roots, they're going nuts down there. And the leaves are starting to get bigger, getting their adult coloring, which is nice. Here we have, this was a recent transplant. It was in a smaller bowl, glass bowl, and I moved it to a self-watering setup in one of my videos. Let me raise this up so you can see. It still has water in the reservoir. And when I transferred it, immediately the leaves started to increase in size. So it's definitely doing well after the transplant. I'm not going to worry about it at all. This one here, I believe this is Red Kiss. This is probably one of, if not the longest surviving Rex Begonias that I have in acrylic yarn. And it went dormant for a little while. You could see how long that rhizome is. Even though it's small, it's very long. And this one wasn't getting any food. It kind of went dormant, stopped growing, and just kind of paused. But now, as you can see, it is continuing on. It's getting its adult coloration. I don't know why I call it adult coloration. You know what I mean. Mature leaf coloration with light. It is growing outside of the vessel. I'm continuing to feed it, and it is appreciating that, so it's doing well. Put that one back. And we have another one here. This one, I'm not sure if this is Spitfire or something different. Another leaf prop in acrylic, and back there, same thing. All right, let's move over here. This is the Hugh McLaughlin. This is propagated in the acrylic yarn, still doing fantastic. You can see the leaves aren't getting that big, but the leaves on the mother plant don't seem to be that big anyway, so it's probably not going to get huge, and that's fine. This is a silver limbo leaf cutting that I propagated in water, and as you can see, it is doing just fine. I'm probably going to try keeping this one in water culture just to see how it does. A lot of the plants that I keep in water culture grow very quickly, so I want to see how that works. I want to see if there are any issues after a period of time, because I have grown a lot of Rex in water culture, and they did fine. So we'll see what happens from a propagation. This one too, another silver limbo, growing nicely in water culture. Let me put that one back. All right. What else do we have? We have, this is an escargot cutting. This is a single leaf, and as you can see, I made slits in the veins, and you can see little babies starting to pop up. There's a couple of them in there through the veins. I don't want to lift this up because it's rooted into the acrylic, but you can see babies are starting to develop, which is fun. I think is this Brucii? I can't remember. This is a rhizomatous non-rex. I just stuck the leaf in some yarn, and as you can see, first leaf came up, next leaf is coming up, doing just fine. No issues there. Another water culture, water propagation of heartbeat. Same as this one. This is the color of the leaves when they get enough sunlight or enough bright light. You can see the coloring is a little bit muted here, which is fine, but that will change. And we have another water culture leaf prop that's doing just fine in water culture. As you can see, I'm doing a bunch of different varieties in water culture just to make sure that it's not just one specific variety that does well. You can see the petiole is still intact. The roots are nice. And the baby plant grew off of the top surface of the leaf, which is always fun. I love when that happens. And it's doing well. Same thing with this one over here. This one was a plant that grew off of the top of the leaf surface. You can see the mother leaf is still down there. And this one is doing well in water culture. There are the roots. Nothing too exciting there though. This is another pink shades like this one, except I propagated it in sphagnum moss. Just wanted to see the difference, if there was a difference in growth rate, or if it was pretty much the same as my acrylic yarn. And so far so good. It is continuing to grow nicely. Let's see, what else do I have to show you guys? Oh, there was something I wanted to show you. Oh, it's in the other area. I'll do another video on that. This here is another leaf prop of heartbeat. The mother leaf is starting to crisp up and die off. Actually, I can pull it right off. Look at that. This is what the mother leaf looks like when she has had enough. So you can see she's all done, right? I'm going to throw that out. But the babies left behind are nice and healthy, rooted into the acrylic. Look at those roots. Actually, because those roots are showing, I want to cover them up a little bit just so that they don't dry out now that the mother leaf is gone. And let's take a look at the reservoir. We've got plenty of water and nutrient. in there. So this will do just fine. Very excited. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you. So I did a little experiment, another experiment, because that's all I do is experiments on this channel. I had taken a leaf, which is Red Bull, Rex Begonia Red Bull, and I said, all right, I'm going to propagate this leaf. But before I do, I'm going to take the petiole, the leaf stem, and I'm going to make cuts in it. Okay, like every, I don't know, maybe half centimeter or every centimeter. I wanted to make cuts because what I wanted to see is if at each of those cuts, are we going to get roots and new growth? And this is the beginning of it. But as you can see, each of those cuts, like there and there and there and the very bottom, you can see that they are growing little plants. The roots are mostly growing towards the bottom. And as you can see, we've got some baby plants. Hold on, let me get this to focus. There we go. We're getting some baby plants at the very bottom, a lot of shoots. But as we move up, wherever there's a cut, you can see there is some growth happening. So what I'm thinking is if you want to get multiple propagations off of one leaf petiole, this is the way to do it. They always say when you're propagating the leaf blade, like the surface of the leaf without the petiole, without the stem, to make cuts underneath wherever there's a vein, if you're going to lay it in your medium to root. And then the roots will come out of the cut area of the vein and baby plants will grow up through that cut, right? Well, apparently you could do the same thing with the petiole. So you can make cuts in the petiole and you will get roots and babies growing at each cut that you make. Now, what I'm going to do is once these things start growing, I will be able to cut each segment off as its own propagation, as long as there are roots in addition to the new plants. These guys up here I'm going to keep an eye on and make sure. Down here we have no problem. We got lots of roots. But up towards the top, I want to make sure that those little growths will get their own roots as well. Then I can cut each segment and plant that as a new plant. Then I'll take this leaf blade, cut it right above that last cut there, and re-propagate this and continue to propagate it. So really kind of fun and cool experiment, right? I just love Rex Begonias. It's so much fun. So that's that one. Put that one back in its little home here. Make sure that that petiole is completely submerged. Okay. Let's see. What else do we got? Back here we have the Harmony's Firewoman. We had a new leaf coming up last time. It was small. It's nice and it's a nice size now, as you can see. And there's no sign of stopping because we have a new leaf coming right there. So now we have what started out as just 2 leaves. We have 4 and a new one. So this plant is doing just fine. This one is planted in a self-watering container with perlite, okay? Now, I didn't remove the soil from this plant. This plant came as a plug. I did not remove the soil from the plug. I just put the whole thing in the perlite. And that seems to be doing just fine. This one also gets maxi grow like the rest. No problems there. Back here we have Connie Boswell. Connie Boswell is in soil still, believe it or not. There's a nice leaf there. And what I did was I took a leaf off of Connie and I started to propagate her. Now let me show you. I think I did this in a video. I started to get a growth on the top of the leaf, and there were babies growing on the bottom of the leaf, on the stem, on the petiole. I cut them off because they were getting nice and big, okay? And I'm going to show you where I put them because I put them in a self-watering with acrylic yarn. There they are. So as you can see, these babies are doing great in the acrylic yarn. They're really starting to grow, and we've got a bunch of crowns here. It's not just one. So let's take a look and see how the reservoir is doing. Just fine. We got plenty. This has not been watered. The great thing about these that I've been doing with the glasses or the cups, depending if they're plastic or glass, there's so much in that reservoir, and the acrylic yarn distributes the moisture so evenly that you don't have to top up or re-water or add water or add nutrients for like a month or two. It's such a slow process of the moisture uptake that it does not, like, you don't have to even look at these plants at all. So it's made my life so easy because this is just one grow space. Look at this. Look at all these plants here. Okay. Imagine if all of my plants were in little containers, whether it be containers with yarn or containers with sphagnum moss. That would take me forever and ever and ever and a day to keep up with. Okay. Here is, this was in a video recently. This is Thelme, I believe that's how you say it. This is a trailing begonia. I just kind of stuck, it was a cutting I had gotten. I just stuck it in some yarn. I said, I'll figure out what to do with it later. And I decided to leave it in yarn because it's growing like crazy. And there was an offshoot that I took off of that. And that offshoot I placed in its own little yarn, and it's continuing to grow. It's doing really well. I really love this acrylic setup. It just makes my life so much easier. Over here, this was a leaf propagation. This is not the mother leaf. The mother leaf has been removed. This was put into some acrylic yarn. As you can see, it's doing just fine in this little area. Here's a Hugh McLaughlin. As you can see, the colors are starting to come in because it's close to this light. This one is in sphagnum moss. What else we got? This is another rhizomatous in acrylic yarn, doing just fine. Here, another red kiss in yarn. Another silver limbo in yarn. This is dragon fruit, and this one was propagated in sphagnum moss, doing good. This was another propagation of dragon fruit, but this one is in acrylic, doing just fine. This is also in a self-watering. Let's take a look and see if it needs some water. Nope, just fine. So as you can see, everything is thriving. Everything is doing great. So October, so far so good. No casualties from anything that has been featured in these videos. If you have any questions about my unconventional way of growing, I guess you can call this passive hydroponics using acrylic yarn medium, that's pretty much what this is. So think of this as if I was growing these plants in rock wool. Okay, very, very similar concept, except it is not rock wool. It is a plastic type of yarn, synthetic, inorganic, which works so much better than soil for me, than just about anything. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Look at these leaves. So pretty. Anyway, I get too excited. Sorry. If you have any questions about how I'm growing in the acrylic yarn, how I'm growing in water culture, how I'm growing in sphagnum moss, how I'm growing in perlite, even how I'm growing in traditional soil, because I do keep a lot of my adult parent mother plants in the soil that they come in. If they're a big plant or a nice sizable plant, I keep them in the soil and I add a little wick on the bottom so that as they grow, any extra water will go into that reservoir that's very similar to these, and it will drink up that moisture. But then I don't top up that reservoir. I let it dry out completely. I let the soil dry out almost completely before I fill that reservoir with more water, because in soil I'm so paranoid, and it has been proven that they do better if you let them dry out before watering again. So in soil, I do that. In acrylic, in my yarn, I keep them damp, moist at all times, and they do extremely, extremely well, as you can see. Anyway, reach out if anything. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, you should, because we have a lot of fun. At least I do. I don't know about any of you guys, but I have such a great time here. So, hit that bell if you want to be notified. And I will see you in the next video.